today. Interesting thing that I was watching a little bit earlier today was an interview about China, and this is the last 24 hours in China. I don't know if you guys have realized through COVID what's happened over there, but it's been pretty wild. So as we've been, regaining some of our freedoms, whether you believe in the COVID lockdowns, all of the policies that have been going on the last little while, this is what China's been doing, and this is why your prices are being affected. Let's just watch this for a minute, and then we're going to have a little bit of a take.
Sprinting with shopping bags, residents racing to get out. After more than 2 months of a brutal citywide lockdown, Shanghai is finally cracking open the seal. The city's main train station packed with people trying to escape, but actually getting out of here is a treacherous journey. The city says it will fully resume transportation today. But earlier, people have been seen trekking miles across highways, dragging their luggage or strapping it to bikes. Even journeys of dozens of miles or more, not swaying their determination. The train station parking lot has become a campsite, some leaving days earlier than their departure time, terrified they could be locked down again if they stay at home. The masses outside the train station, a stark contrast to the rest of Shanghai. Hundreds of thousands still remain locked in. But even the lucky ones allowed out face a laundry list of restrictions. There are checkpoints everywhere.
No, this is definitely not freedom.
This Shanghai resident and her son, who wished to remain anonymous for fear of persecution from authorities, were finally allowed out after more than 80 days. Her only solace is seeing her son outside and smiling for the first time in a long time.
My child now has depression because of the lockdown.
Well, what's going on in China? Okay. So we got to think about this for a second, folks, is that we've had China locked down 180, 190 million people. And what you saw there was a mass exodus of folks running out of the cities. Okay. So what are the cities? In China, the cities are these massive centers, hundreds of millions of people that are used for manufacturing. What are they making? They're making everything that we're consuming in North America, right? So we've been talking about supply chain issues and the crunches that go along with that. The issue is that when they have forcibly locked down their people with their policy of no COVID, they are not allowing any COVID at all. If you have one case, they're locking down an entire community of people. All those people are fleeing, right? They're running away from the cities. Why? Because the government, the authoritarian process that the government is taking, draconian, if you will, even, to lock down an entire group of people like that, is leading to a mass exodus. Well, what does that mean? If you have people fleeing the city, they're getting the heck out of there because they can't stand what's happening. What does that do to the city itself? Okay. What does that do to the manufacturing and the industry and the economy? And what does that happen? What all goes down when you have that? Well, what I'm concerned is that we are starting to see a pivot away from policies of old. Okay. So for years, if you made an air conditioning unit here in North America, right, you had, let's go cars, let's go automotive so everyone can touch and feel it, right? You're building Detroit City. Yeah, Michigan made, boys, right? Now where all your car parts made. They're offshore, they're manufactured here, and then gone. They go out, okay? The problem is right now is that when we're seeing all of our manufacturing pivot offshore, then when they try to lock down their community, that's an economic form of warfare, okay? So we just had in our last little live about inflation. The United States, North America, and the world, Western ideologies are getting hammered by inflation. Well, we don't have the policies that are able to handle that other than just crash the market. What does that look like? What we're going to see is we're going to start to see organizations, companies, businesses, corporations start pivoting away from globalization as an entire policy. Okay. Now, is that going to bring manufacturing back to the United States and Canada? No. Right? Unfortunately, those manufacturing jobs are gone, and I think they're gone forever. But what this is going to do is it's going to pivot these corporations into new emerging markets. So what does that mean? What does India look like? What does Africa look like? What do these new markets look like? And we do this. We do this through colonialism. We did it through economic development and globalization. We've done it through all of these things through history, right? So where do we go from here? And how is it going to affect China? because China's got 1.5 billion people that are sitting there that are really starting to kind of like this middle class lifestyle that America and the world has provided for them, right? Well, in my opinion, what this does is it's going to force the Chinese Communist Party, which is the CCP, it's going to force them to take some pretty stark actions, especially if people are fleeing their cities. Why are they fleeing their cities? They're fleeing fear of lockdown, they're fleeing fear of persecution, but they're also concerned that they just can't feed themselves, right? What are we hearing right now in the world? We're hearing about food shortages and food scarcity. How would you like to live in a city of 150 million people with a food scarcity? You can't go to your grocery store because there's no food. It's a food scarcity. But if you go to the rural areas of China, you can grow your food and you can raise your livestock and you can do these things. I know this sounds a little bit weird and far-fetched, but are we seeing the deglobalization of China and Southeast Asia as a whole? I think it's an interesting concept. I think it'll be very wild to watch over the next little while. The only problem that really strikes me is that how do you turn this around for China? A war would probably help. We just talked about Biden and his missiles. It'll be interesting to see what they come up with. As always, folks, a pleasure, and let's try to make some money together. We'll chat again soon. Take care, guys.